fast food restaurant. Those questions, thereafter, you can ask the questions to myself here, the engineer, after I do my little opening here. So people who are not familiar with the development process after today's community input meeting, the developer has a year to submit their final development plan for the county to review, and they'll get another dig at it, the final dig at reviewing the plan to make sure that it's conforming to state and local regulations. After that development plan meeting, which is open to the public as well, there's a hearing officer hearing that's scheduled in front of an administrative law judge. And there, the administrative law judge has 15 days to issue an order to approve or deny the plan. Anyone can appeal that order within the 30-day process. Thereafter, if there's no one that appeals that order, the plan is approved. There's a little ground rules in regards to today's meeting. Just allows everyone to not to speak over each other and one question at a time. If there's any questions about the development process, my business card is out in the front. You can email me and I can explain, answer any questions that you may have. But one thing that I need you to do is make sure that you sign the attendance sheet, because everyone who signed the attendance sheet today will get a copy of the development plan, and as well as the hearing notice of when the date's going to be scheduled. Anyone who doesn't attend today's this input meeting, the engineer will post the property as well as when the hearing is going to be scheduled. So, with any other questions that you may have about the development process, please get my business card, shoot me an email, and I'll respond to you as quickly as I can. So I'm going to turn this meeting over to Mr. Kraszewski, who is the attorney for the developer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Kraszewski. I'm an attorney with Venable LLP with offices here in Towson. I am one of the land use attorneys for this project, Towson Station. Here with me today is Mr. Steve Warfield. He's the project professional engineer. He's with the firm of Mattis Warfield. And we're here this evening to speak with you about the concept plan that has been filed with the county. As Mr. Chen already indicated, this is the concept plan. After this phase in the development process, the development plan will be submitted, and following submission and review of the development plan, there will be a public hearing on the plan. The plan this evening is a 4-sheet plan. The first sheet of the plan provides all of the standard notes that the county requires on a concept plan, including things like the zoning classification, the acreage of the site, and you can see there's a portion of that plan on the board here today, on the screen here today. Mr. Warfield will go into detail about each sheet of the plan. The second sheet of the plan shows the existing conditions of the property, and then there are a third and fourth sheet. Those are over here, and these two sheets, 3 and 4, are entitled Site Proposal Plan A and Plan B. Mr. Warfield will get into detail on them, but the main difference between the two plans is that in the northern corner of the property where Bosley Avenue and York Road meet, on Plan B, it shows a proposed bank building, and on Plan A, it shows a proposed restaurant building. So I saw many of you have come up and taken a look at the plans, but that's the main difference and why there are two different proposals that are part of the concept plan. And one other point to make real quickly before I hand it over to Mr. Warfield is that the developer is the owner of the property as of today. So with that, I'll ask Mr. Warfield to present the plan, and then we can field your questions. Thank you.
Okay. You made my life easy. You just did it. So yeah, like David was saying, the first page is the title sheet. It has a bunch of notes, site data, things like that. The second page is an existing conditions plan, and I'll blow that up a little bit there, but we have, I think I figured out to use this. So Bosley Avenue is this curved road that comes up around the side here, and York Road is running north-south over in this direction. North is actually a little bit on an angle, but basically north-south. And right now there is, I guess it's gone now, but there was a fire department building. The fire Sure. There was a fire department, fire station building in this area right here. There was a county maintenance shop in this area right here, a salt dome and some county maintenance facilities back in this area. And there's a 911 tower kind of in the bottom south part of the site. The site's mostly impervious right now. This area along the church property here, this has some vegetation on it. But basically it's a non-vegetated and mostly impervious site. There's a few landscape islands and things on the site. And the site falls from higher grade on the southwest side here on the south to the lower side on the intersection of Bosley and York. Let's see. And we have the concept plans over here on the easels, and these are the two concept plan sheets, but I also have a kind of colored version zoomed in a little bit here, which might make it a little easier to see what's going on. So let's see if we can show you. So this was Plan A. Plan A was the two retail buildings, two retail strip buildings on the south and southern part of the site, and parking in the middle of the site, and a fast food, proposed fast food restaurant on the north corner of the site at York and Bosley. There's a proposed entrance directly across from Kenilworth Drive, and a proposed entrance directly across from Dunvale on the other side on York Road. And these are two-way traffic in and out both sides. And there's a drive-through that goes around the fast food restaurant that starts over in this area and comes around the back like that. You can see these, the dark green circles are trees, proposed trees. Those are considered major deciduous trees. That'd be like your species haven't been decided yet, but like your red maples and oaks and things like that. Some of these purplish colored trees, these are evergreen trees. And then the smaller plants are all shrubs, flowers and grasses. These are some grasses down here. There's a proposed sign over on York Road. And there's a double retaining wall along the front side here along York and Bosley. It's a two-step wall, so basically from the sidewalk on Bosley and York, there'll be a landscape area at the bottom, and then there'll be a wall approximately 3 to 4 feet high, and then another landscape area, and then another wall set back behind that one, about 3 or 4 feet high, and then another landscape area on top of them, and that's on both sides here on York and Bosley. And I'm going to show you the other plan real quick here, because I know you probably.
And while he's doing that, the reason to show you a color slide is so that it's a little easier to see from your seats. But these slides are not part of the concept plan submission. The official pages of the concept plan are on the board here. So what you don't see on the official concept plan that you see up there are locations of that there may be landscape plantings. That's not part of the requirement for the submission of a concept plan at this stage in the development process.
Correct. And there's some things on here that are turned off, and we can go back and look at the other plans. And for instance, there's let me go over this real quick. These two buildings here, and basically the same exact position, these two retail/restaurant buildings on the south part of the site. The entrances are in the same location on option B. And the change is the parking lot over here is a little bit different. The fast food's gone on this, and there's a proposed bank in this area. The bank also has a drive-through where you drive around the front of the building here and come down the drive-through lane right here, or you can come down this side into the bank drive-through lane. The step retaining wall is the same. The landscaping is very similar. Basically the site configuration is very similar. Proposed signage, modifications to the existing traffic signal over here to allow this to be a full movement traffic signalized intersection. Very similar layout. And some of the things we would see, and we can go back to let me go back to their plan, just so you can see it, even though it's a little bit. Let's see, zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so again, like I said, maybe a little hard to see, but the whole site drains from the western and southern end down over on the side down here where I'm showing the pointer, and it all goes down towards York Road. We are providing multiple stormwater management facilities. Because there's so much existing impervious area, it qualifies as a redevelopment site. And we're providing 3 Filterra devices, which is an underground, kind of an underground bioretention facility, and it has a tree, some planting coming up on one side of it. And there's 3 of those for some redevelopment, and then we also have an underground sand filter and some quantity management in this area here on the site. Utilities, as boring as they may be, water and sewer services over off York Road. Again, storm drainage all down to the corner. I'm going to go back to the color plan, and then you guys we can open it up for some questions. Let's put the bank up right here. So back to the bank plan. Does anybody have a question? Do you want to be the question organizer, or do you want me to do it?
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. The 911 tower, where is that in that plan?
It is right here. So this area right here, this little triangle right here is the base of the 911 tower, and these are some equipment buildings around the 911 tower. So it's in this area of the site right here. It's actually a separate parcel. The development parcel, as David has said, that was purchased. The development parcel was subdivided out of the lot, and the county retained this piece down here.
It's my understanding the cables to the 911 tower need to be rerouted from where they are now underneath the, I guess, the dirt of the parking lot.
That's correct.
Where is that going to be?
The communications cables have already been rerouted, and they, right now, I believe they go out, they go through the middle of the lot here, through the maintenance yard, down to Bosley, somewhere through here. That's where they used to go. And the county, I believe, has already relocated them so that they come, they board and jack. Boring and jacking means they basically dig a pit on each side of where they're going to make their connections, and then they tunnel or force the line through under the ground. So there's an existing retaining wall right along this edge of this existing wooded area right here, and then the proposed development site area here. So there's a retaining wall right here, and around the communications lines right behind here over to Bosley.
So it's already been done?
I believe so, yes.
So the trees that are between the Immaculate Conception field and the property, are they staying?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, but they don't have to excavate. They don't have to put a machine there. They just shoot the lines basically through the ground 4 feet down or 3 feet down, and it's I don't know. I haven't seen the plan, but it's probably a couple 4-inch PVC pipes that they pull the wires
I
through.
think in this case, it's 9 feet deep, right, the lines?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't see the plan.
Okay, we'll try and work across the room this way. Another question.
I was just going by your presentation.
Sure.
When you were talking about the retaining walls along the corner of Bosley and York Road, you mentioned a number of them. I don't know how many that was. Can you specify?
Yeah, there are 2 walls, and I think I have a little. Maybe this will help, but I have a little cross section. If I can find it real quick, if you can bear with me. No, but it shows like what the. I don't think I brought it to you. But there's 2 walls. There's 2 walls. There's one wall that's like kind of this dark gray line right here, and it starts off being 0 feet high right here because the road, Bosley Avenue, the grade drops down to the intersection there, so it's a higher elevation here. And the top of this wall is basically level, and it runs along here, it comes along down here, runs back, and then it ties back in to be 0 feet high at York Road on this side. And then there's a second wall that's lower. Like I said, see this like orange row of shrubs here is in between the 2 walls. And so this one would start at 0 feet high here. So there's basically about a 4-foot grade difference between here and here. So this being 4 feet higher than this elevation here. And then this wall starts at 0 and it ends up getting to about 4 feet high down here, wrapping around the corner at 4 feet, and then coming back to 0 again here.
And
how high is the wall at the highest point compared to the sidewalk, would you say?
Well, let me see, I can tell you that. We have some grades on here. If I can zoom in, I can tell you the, so, from the sidewalk's about elevation 401, and this parking lot here is elevation 416, and the top of the wall is about elevation 413. So it's about 401, and then it slopes up a little bit, goes up 4 feet, so maybe it's like 406 or something like that at the top of the first wall at the corner. And then it goes up another foot or so between the wall with the grades, and then it goes up another 4 feet to the 413 elevation.
Yes,
There's
ma'am.
about 12-foot difference between walking on the sidewalk and what is above it?
At the top of the wall, yes.
12 feet?
Yeah, yes. And it's probably close to about 12 feet back from the sidewalk as well, by the time you get to that point, because it's stepped with the landscaping in between.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
wondering-
And that's at the worst spot on the corner. It's obviously less as you go on the road, it drops.
I was wondering about pedestrian traffic, since there's so many high-density apartments nearby. Do they have to use where they're driving through, because now that corner will have the retaining wall?
Yeah, so we have to do sidewalk improvements per the county's plans and
And the Towson guidelines.
the Towson guidelines, yeah. So there's going to be a wider sidewalk along the front of the site here, and it's going to go all the way down around the corner and all the way back up York. And there's planting bed requirements for these trees, and also lighting and things like that, amenities. And when you come up into this area here, the sidewalk actually comes into the side of the retail restaurant building here on this area here, and there's like a little landscape area. You come inside, and there's potential for outdoor seating in here and some bike racks in the front of this area here. And then as you come across the front of the building, this is like I believe this is like 13 to 16 feet wide sidewalk area in front of the buildings here, and there's more outdoor seating possibility there. And a lot of it depends on, obviously, if there's a restaurant or some usually that wants outdoor seating. Again, on the sides of both these retail buildings, and then as you come through, there's a crosswalk right here, and then it goes across the front of the second building here and down the side, and then also across the little crosswalk here and back out to the public sidewalk there. So you have these couple areas here where you have some parking that, there might be some limited cars going back and forth here where you had to go across, but basically the main traffic of the site is all out of this area. And the only other crossing point that people would have to deal with some traffic was from the bank. If somebody said they wanted to go from the bank to these retail buildings or from the street to the bank, they'd have to cross the middle of the site right here.
Will there be stairs, like from your road up there, or you have to come in through the driveway?
You would come in here at grade, there's no stairs, yeah, so you would come in here at grade and then walk across here, and walk, if you were going to the bank, you would come through that right there.
I have a process question about, you said the concept plan doesn't have plantings, that's not required for the concept plan, and you just mentioned something about required plantings, so at what point in the process does that kick in?
So let me see if I can answer the best I can. That's right. You're not required to file a landscape plan with your concept plan. There is something called a schematic landscape plan, and that is presented at the development plan hearing.
Well, we do submit the schematic landscape plan, which is the landscaping here with the concept plan.
But it's not part of the
But
package.
it's not part of the, so for instance, we have to submit 36 copies of the concept plan, you submit 2 copies of the schematic landscape plan, because only 2 agencies or 1 agency looks at it at this stage.
And that schematic plan will be under review and presented at the development plan hearing. Following that, if the plan is approved, there is another plan called a final landscape plan. And that plan is then signed by the county's landscape architect.
And because this is part of the downtown Towson overlay district, how does that fit into the process? I think some of the questions you're going to get tonight are going to be assuming that nothing happens there.
So you're correct. The property now has the DT overlay district, which is a design-based overlay district. As part of this process, because of the location of this property, there will be a presentation to the county's design review panel.
I can't hear you well enough. Could you use the microphone?
Yes, I'm sorry. The question was about the DT district, which is a design-based district that was created around the same time as the 2016 CZMP. And it is design-based. There will be a presentation that will be made to the county's design review panel. That meeting is typically held after the development plan is filed with the county. So at this level and this stage in the process, we haven't gotten into design specifics yet.
And they would review architecture.
Architecture,
Plantings.
hardscape, landscaping, all of that will be reviewed by the design review panel. Yes, sir.
Traffic signals, I see where traffic is indicated that it stopped on Bosley and Kenilworth. Is there going to be a traffic signal at that entrance exit?
The traffic signal at Bosley and Kenilworth will be modified to allow for the fourth leg of the intersection here. Right now it's 3. And there will be no traffic signal at the Dunvale York Road intersection. That will just be a series. Yeah, no traffic signal there.
And you're going to allow left turns into, if you're heading north on York, you'll be able to make a left turn into the driveway?
Yes.
Yes.
And the State Highway Administration doesn't like that, correct? That's what they said in their comments anyway. They said something about needing to have a separate turn lane or a deceleration lane or something because of the speeds on that road. So is there any intention of addressing that, or?
Well, Mr. Warfield can talk about the specifics of what we're showing in terms of circulation, but in terms of process, the state will have to issue an access permit for the access point on York Road.
Okay.
Okay?
That's correct, yeah. So.
Yes, sir, in the middle.
I'm just following up on her question. I'm not sure why State Highway would have an issue with the left turn into this project when there are a whole bunch of other establishments all the way back to Olympic Place that you can make a left on.
Yeah.
You don't have a deceleration. So I'm not sure why you're pinpointing this one.
Oh, because I read it in the comments from the State Highway Administration. That's why I'm pinpointing.
Okay, well, I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why I was just because it was in the comments, I was interested in how you all were dealing with it.
It is a good point, sir. I know many of you probably drive York Road every day. And I'm not aware of any use along this section of York Road that doesn't have a full movement access on York Road. Yes, ma'am.
The retaining wall, I guess it's the 2 retaining walls that are moving, starting at 0 and moving up to, you said it's going to be like 4 feet and then plantings and then another 4 feet?
Correct.
I'm just picturing sitting there in traffic and watching kids and teenagers start walking along the walls and then jumping around. I'm just saying what kids do. Is that just going to happen? It's very inviting, especially for foot traffic.
That could happen, yes. There will be, on the high side of the top wall, there will be fencing in with the landscaping, and as the landscaping grows and becomes more established, we would say, basically it's going to discourage that kind of thing because the plants will start to grow over the top of the wall and you won't be able to walk on it. But the top wall will definitely have a railing because there's a code requirement because you can't fall over. You want to prevent people from falling over the top of that wall.
But I'll just add, thank you for making the comment, and the next plan is the development plan, so we will take your comment under consideration.
And another
Yes.
question, is it 6 of one, half dozen another for you as a developer to, as far as income to you, whether it's a bank or a fast food restaurant? Is it pretty much the same?
Well, Mr. Warfield and I don't have knowledge of that. We're just here to show you both plans.
Okay.
And it'll be dictated by leasing activity, which one is selected. Yes, sir, in the back.
If I understand correctly what you described as access for pedestrians, there just seems to be an inherent unnecessary danger to pedestrians. If you put a pedestrian on the very corner of Bosley and York, on the sidewalk, on that corner, and he wants to access any part of that development, he's going to follow the sidewalk in either one or two directions. He's either going to go up the hill in York or up the hill on Bosley before he hits the sidewalk. And before he hits the sidewalk that enters the development, he has to cross the traffic flow in and out of that development. Now, it mystifies me why you would insist on having a plan where a pedestrian who's defenseless is going to be watching out for traffic going in 2 directions minimum, and maybe 4 directions. So I'm hoping that can be fixed.
Okay, thanks for that comment. Yes, ma'am.
And to that, one idea would be to create a stair or even a ramp type of entrance, which you see in a lot of projects, to access right at the corner. That might solve the whole problem there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. From the corner at York and Bosley to the edge on the west side of the property, and then over to your other property, what are the differences in elevation that make those sidewalks walk?
Can you say the distance from the corner of Bosley
Yes.
to here?
Yeah.
And then over to-
here to there, because I never see a stream
Okay.
of kids or people walking on either side of York Road. Plus, the topography makes it such that anyone my age or older, maybe even 20 years of age or younger, is not going to want to access that property from the corner. I'm just talking, I'm just trying to understand it. That's all. Okay.
So, let me go back to the other sheet here, so down here at the corner, we're about elevation 401, and these buildings here are about elevation 426.
It's a 25-foot difference, right?
So, between here and all the way up to here, it's about 25 feet
It's
difference.
about 2.5 stories, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the stretch of the frontage from there, corner to the left?
What's the length?
Right. So, maybe people who know math can understand the slope of that.
Well, I believe that the Bosley is about a 7% grade coming up through this area. It's flatter down at the intersection here, and as you come up in here, it's like 7 or 8% grade. In the sidewalk in this area here. York Road is a similar grade. This York Road gets up to maybe 8.5% around, something like that in here. And what that means is about 8 feet and 100 feet. 8% is 8 feet and 100 feet of horizontal. So
is that ideal sloping grade for walking people between the age of 14 and 80?
no, but there's not much we can do about the existing road grades.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, okay, both plans, you have these two here. Have any leases been signed in those buildings?
So I know there have been articles written about potential tenants, but Mr. Warfield and I don't have the authority or really even the knowledge to talk about any leases.
When will we as a community know what leases?
Actually, I can answer that because I looked at the H&R retail site today, and they have leases. They're obviously going to be contingent upon this coming to fruition, but one is a Mod Pizza, one is a Mission Barbecue, one is a Nail Twix, and one is a Men's Warehouse. There are 3 leases in discussion in each of the retail buildings that are close, down near the bottom here on this view, and also for the pad site.
What about further leases for the, quote, bank or fast food?
Something is being negotiated there, but nothing is shown on the retail.
I'll tell you
I know
what,
we don't know, but when
there are
is it
2
due?
points. The best I can say about that is that the developer, as of today, is leaning in the direction of the bank plan, but it's going to depend on the overall leasing activity of the property.
And when will we know that knowledge?
I don't have an answer for
You
you.
don't have an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Many of us have been concerned about the traffic problems now with nothing there. It is extremely difficult to get through the York Road, Bosley Avenue intersection during rush hour, during the school year. And we talked about this at an earlier meeting, and I was talking with the traffic engineer, and he said, look up level of service. this is a totally alien concept to me.